The first thing, I'm just going to play her strengths right now. I mean, just looking at her bullet point right there, which is really good. So a drill that we'll work through with our guys, and we'll have to kind of modify it just with the pull length here. But we'll start out where just their toes are on the gutter edge here. They're floating out in front, just like she talked about right there, just like she did such a great job with right there. She's just going to skull. We're going to have a little more defined skull, and not let yourself leave the wall, but just get the elbow nice and high through that, just sculling back and forth. And then as you get to a good point, you're going to kind of release from the wall. Just take that into sculling. We call this anywhere from high elbow sculls or windshield wiper skull, just keeping it nice and high through there. We have a little bit of curvature just to feel the water. So we're going to get in that position. That's a great flow point right there. So we're going to let her start in that position. And then we're going to take that, typically, our typical drill will go into 2 strokes breaststroke that we call flat strokes. Not no breath, but they're definitely not coming out and gaining the breath. So they're going from this position to just taking 2 strokes, just trying to stay in that position with breaststroke kick. And then finally, we take that into 2 strokes breaststroke, just being really low. And this helps for a lot of guys that, as we talked about, if you started out with the end of butterfly, just have a lot of undulation in their stroke. So we're trying to get them flat up on the surface through the skull. As they leave, just kind of take that feeling into a little bit of forward movement, and then go into 2 strokes, staying flat, and then 2 strokes regular. Probably with this pull, we're just going to go 1 and 1. Again, it's nice sculling, see the elbows nice and high, just a little bit back and forth, release of the pull, just kind of keep that sculling. The other thing we can, one of the things that we do for our guys that helps out a lot is instead of we take the sculling out of it, and so we just push from the surface, we go right into 1 stroke flat and 1 stroke regular. I think that's one that we can handle. Again, what I'm looking for with our breaststrokers here, same thing that I talked about in the in-stroke apply. Some of the really good elite breaststrokers, and we have a young man that finished the world ranked 4th in the 100 breast, 4th in the 50 breast, and he's still working on getting a little bit better. But a lot of video that we watched with other breaststrokers, the point that he's missing is how early his fingertips can get down to the bottom of the pool. And that drill, the sculling part of that, as you saw with Kate, does a really good job of just kind of keeping those fingertips pointed down. And then you take the skull right into the stroke, just that same feeling, and then into the full stroke of breaststroke. I'm going to have her push off again, not do the sculling, but just do the 1 stroke flat into 1 stroke up. That's the key thing that we've kind of been working on with this young man, trying to have him progress a little bit higher. It's just to get that position a little bit earlier in the stroke. A lot of breaststrokers will have those fingertips and those hands, those points and those palms face out, and then they get up on top of their stroke, and then by the time their hands are underneath them, that's where they're in the power phase of their pull. We're trying to start that a little bit earlier with this. Another thing that we work on with our guys and kind of be taking the stroke without breath, and taking the stroke with breath, is to help them breathe a little bit later in the stroke time. So many times with breaststrokers, again, the first thing they want to do is lift their head to get a breath. So they're starting to really lift, and their palms are still flat. So at that point in time, their hands are just supporting their head being up, and then their palms and their arms aren't helping them move forward in the water. This does happen a lot with our guys towards the end of races when they want to pick up their tempo. They feel like they're missing a lot of the power in their stroke. So they're really going to start to drive the tempo. Unfortunately, a lot of our guys start to drive the tempo with head movement and not staying patient in the stroke and getting that breath a little bit later in the cycle. We see it a lot with our guys as well as they come off the walls for underwater pull-downs. The first thing they do after spending time underwater is they want to breathe. So that first stroke, they're already lifting their head, getting the breath before they actually get into the stroke. That's a great drill just to help them isolate that. So again, keep the fingertips down through the skull, taking it into a stroke where you're not worried about lifting the head up, and then finally working that into a full stroke breaststroke.